So this is going to be the next part of the video, talking about the horizontal gimbal. And you can imagine that if you've got a gyroscope, the rotation axis, the axis of rotation like this here, this is the, let's point it like this here in the X direction. The Y axis would be, in this case, the horizontal gimbal, and it allows the X to rotate on the Y axis. So I designed the plans. I'll just introduce where I am so far. This is how far I got. So I created a motor mount, and so here's the electrical connections, and I'm using metal rod on either side of the mount as a part of the electrical connection. It'll allow me to get the motor to spin a full 360 degrees like this here by creating a set of slip rings by twisting the wire around the shaft a couple of times. And so I was actually playing with this thing, and it's turning out to be a lot of fun. Although, as I said in the previous one, because I cannot get this thing to remain balanced, it's just going to shake too much. I can't get this thing to act as a genuine gyrocompass that will rotate towards north. But having said that, I am planning to go ahead with it, and I'm just using a piece of wood at the moment because I haven't finished the frame, and I was just playing with it so far. So if I just put power to it, one thing that I noticed, and this will help illustrate what Bob the Science Guy said about the forces acting on the gyroscope and the gyroscope wanting to turn into it in a different direction. So it's going to be a little bit loud because unfortunately there's enough play in everything. It'll sound quite loud, but it's actually not that out of balance. Now, if I turn this like this, nice and slowly, you can see that this is the axis of rotation, and the horizontal axis will try to. I'm just going to turn this down so that you can hear me. So as I turn it like this, the motor is going to stay in either of these two positions where it will end up maintaining this direction. But what happens is if I rotate it like this, then what happens is I'm putting force on the motor, and the gyroscope will actually want to realign to maintain that other direction. So if I rotate it like this, you'll see that the motor rotates like this. The whole gyroscope will rotate in one of either this direction or in this direction. And as I move it like this, the motor will want to spin either in this direction or in this direction in order to maintain that direction. So I'm just going to play with it and give you an illustration, an example. And oddly enough, this is the same principle behind the Sopwith Camel that was used in World War One. And one of the pilots who flew in it described this thing as being a bit of a handful. And I'm not going to bother trying to remember the rest of it, but that's basically what he said. And the problem with the Sopwith Camel is that a lot of its mass, the motor itself, the entire motor that spun, a rotary motor, weighed 300 pounds. And I think they said the entire plane weighed like 900 pounds. So almost a third of the plane's weight was the motor. And of course, the motor spinning, it was a gyroscope. And they were saying that as they would rev up the engine on the ground, it wasn't a problem. But if they were in the air, the engine would want to remain stationary and or force counterforce. So as the engine would spin up, it would twist the entire airframe and rotate it and want to pitch it to the left like this. The other thing is, and you'll be able to see that as I move up, this thing wants to spin in a particular direction. And they were saying that the gyroscopic action of the engine would actually want to twist the plane to the right. So even though they wanted to go up and pull up on the controls, the Sopwith Camel would actually go up to the right like this. And same thing, if they wanted to pitch down, it would pitch down and to the left. Now, if I hold it like this, I can actually feel a torque in this direction. So anyways, that's where I am at the moment. And as I explained in my previous video, there is a fair bit of vibration going on, and this thing here does tend to want to shake and rattle. If I set this thing up, I'll probably have to put it in the basement and hide it behind something that is sound absorbing, because it will end up getting quite loud. So that's the horizontal gimbal so far. I haven't finished it yet. I did print out some of the angle brackets that are going to go on the ends, but I have the vertical axis pieces left to print, and I have to figure out how I'm going to end up doing the rest of it. But so I do have other parts. So this is going to be the four corners at the bottom. The idea is that I'm going to have these wires. So one wire is going to extend up towards the top, towards the top pivot, and this one here, the other one, is going to extend down towards the bottom pivot, so that I'll be able to carry on the electrical connection so that it can spin in all three axes. Well, actually, it'll spin in the two axes, and the motor itself is the third axis. So, all right, so that's where I am, and it'll probably be a little bit longer, probably maybe another week before I can get some time to finish off the rest of the assembly and to hopefully try it out. Now, I did, by the time I got to this point, I did try setting it up in a number of positions to see if it would act as a gyrocompass. I set it up vertically like this, and I wasn't able to capture the rotation. I set it up like this, because in the example that I gave, if I torque it like this, this will end up wandering off like this to match this. So I was thinking if I initially oriented it like this, where this is east-west and the Earth is rotating like this, I would hope that after a certain period of time, it would precess into this position here, or I guess in this position maybe, but no, this position, because it would end up orienting itself like this. If it was like this, it would be like this, but I couldn't get it. I've got a theodolite app on my phone, and I was measuring the angle, and after something like 10 minutes, it was still at the same angle. So unfortunately, I think that there's a couple of factors going on. One, I may not have enough mass, and the overall internal frictions are allowing it to are preventing it from compensating freely. Two, the whole thing is shaking and vibrating, could be causing all kinds of problems. Three, it might not be spinning fast enough. The commercial gyrocompasses, as I've stated in other videos, the weight is anywhere between 3 and 25 pounds. This is obviously a lot less, so in order for me to get the same kind of angular momentum, I would have to probably spin this thing at 30, 40, 50,000 RPM. And of course, it's nowhere near balanced enough for that. So there's a lot of factors going on, and as I've stated in the other videos, or the previous video, this may not even work as a gyrocompass, but it was fun in building. It's still, I'm still going to finish the build and publish the results and let you comment on it. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, like, subscribe, all that other stuff, yada, yada, yada. Bye for now.